Okay, so I would like to call this business meeting of the Portland Board of Public Education to order. It is Tuesday, February 28th, 2023, and we are meeting in a virtual format. Superintendent Snelly or Townsend, would one of you please call the roll?
Yes, I'm happy to do so. Board Member Bilyeu, Board Member Bondo, Board Member Bryden.
Here.
Board Member Figdor.
Here.
Member Grant.
Here.
Member Opperman.
Here.
Member Russell Better. Member Youssef. Student Member Ellis. Student Member Francisco. Student Member Amond. Student Member McLaughlin. And Student Member Santiago. And lastly, Chair Lentz.
Here. I do know that there were a couple of different invitations that got sent out, so I'm hoping that more folks will be coming in. Here comes Mickey. Welcome, Vice Chair Bondo.
Thank you.
Beautiful. And we're going to go ahead and move to the Pledge of Allegiance. So I'm not sure in an all virtual format if there's anything in particular that we have to do. Perfect. I knew someone would know. All right. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
One nation.
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice
For all.
for all. Thank you. The Portland Public Schools recognizes the original inhabitants of the land on which our city and schools stand. The Wolastoqiyik, or Maliseet, Micmac, Penobscot, and Passamaquoddy tribes, known collectively as the Wabanaki Confederacy, or People of the Dawnland. We are honored to have Wabanaki children among our students today, and as a district, we are committed to making the past, present, and future of Wabanaki peoples visible in our schools and in our classrooms. I'd now like to move to public comment. Since we are all virtual tonight, I'll be calling people from Zoom to move over. As a reminder about public comment, it's open to anything that we are not voting on tonight. The board may not respond to comments, and please refrain from responding in the audience. No complaints or allegations will be allowed in public concerning any staff member or person connected with the school district. To give public comment, please raise your Zoom hand and I will call on you, and then you will have 3 minutes. I will keep the time, and when you've reached 2 minutes and 30 seconds, I will let you know, and then you'll have 30 seconds remaining. If you need additional time, you may ask for more. So is there anyone with public comment tonight? I'm going to give just a few more beats. Welcome, Representative Haymond. Oh, and Board Member Bilyeu, welcome. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close public comment and move into my remarks. So good evening, everyone. Tonight on this snowy night, I'm really thinking about all of our unhoused and homeless families across the city. At the city council meeting last night, the interim city manager mentioned that since January, we've had over 550 new arrivals into Portland, many of whom are families with children who are in need of shelter, food, and care. Until we are able to find sustainable housing for these individuals, they are staying in shelters, and many are sleeping on chairs each night. Both the city staff, our school staff, and many community partners are working relentlessly and tirelessly to make sure that all of these children and their families have their basic needs met. I am incredibly grateful for all the work that is being done to support these families and children. But I will say that we need more support from other municipalities, from the state, to really make sure that we are welcoming these families and setting them up for success as new members of our cities, communities, and our schools. Supporting these families and their children fully is one of the many pressures we are feeling as we move into budget season. Superintendents Nally and Townsend and I have already been in conversation with Mayor Snyder and city staff to collaborate on getting the financial resources our schools need while being aware of a national inflation rate of 7.1% and its already deep impact on Portlanders. Superintendent Townsend will be speaking more about the budget process in their remarks. I encourage you all to be involved and share your thoughts as we move through this process. The Public Affairs Committee met last night to plan the final stages of the listening sessions that the board has been doing across the district. We've been incredibly grateful and thankful for those who have attended and shared their thoughts and ideas. I'm working with the superintendents to share the themes that we've heard and to incorporate the feedback into actionable steps. One of these themes that we've heard is the need for increased educator input. I recognize that this is not a new concept and that there are many ways that the district has already addressed this, but like much of our work, we will continue to be better and more responsive. In response, we are adding, as I've mentioned before, an EdTech to the Superintendent Search Committee, and will continue to work on other initiatives as part of rebuilding trust within the district. In exciting news, our superintendent search is now live. Alma Advisory Group has let us know that we have already had strong applicants applying. We continue to elevate this posting of this role to get the most competitive candidates possible. During the month of March, Alma will continue to recruit and do initial screenings of candidates, while the board and search committee will be focused on planning the interview process, a process that will involve the community as much as possible. I'll provide more updates on this search in March, but in the meantime, you can find more information on the Portland Public Schools website. And in even more exciting news, we are hosting architect-led tours of 3 of our Building for Our Future schools. I really encourage you to join us this Saturday from 1 to 1:30 at Longfellow School, 2 to 2:30 at Reiki School, and 3 to 3:30 at Presumpscot School. It will be an opportunity to see some of the incredible and beautiful work that has been done across the district as part of the Building for Our Futures initiative. And with that, I'm going to pass it to Natalie. Is Natalie here? Representative Natalie? I know she was just finishing up her basketball game. So maybe if she comes after, we can do the superintendent remarks first. So I'll pass it to you, Superintendents Nally and Townsend.
Great. Thank you, Chair Lentz. Good evening, board members and the Portland community. We hope everyone enjoyed the recent February vacation and are ready to tackle the next 7 weeks of school. This is one of the most important stretches of the year as we deepen the teaching and learning in classrooms and do significant planning for the coming year as a leadership team and board. I want to start our superintendent's report this evening with a few updates regarding the payroll situation as we continue to address the challenges that surfaced last fall. We expect this evening a final report from Spinglass, the forensic accounting firm that has been analyzing our payroll systems. We will review that with them and we'll be sharing it with our collective bargaining partners shortly thereafter. We will communicate its main findings and make it available to all staff and community from there. Next, I want to acknowledge that we had our first meet and confer session with MEA and our bargaining partners per the terms in our MOU to discuss the overpayments that have been made and how these will be addressed. We look forward to working with them to find a solution that is respectful of the concerns and experience of our employees and demonstrates responsible stewardship of our resources. We will be meeting again with them next week to continue this discussion and hope to come to a resolution very soon. We also wanted to share that we have selected a firm to act as our project manager for the ADP payroll transition. We solicited proposals from 4 different companies, and we have selected Coa Hills Consulting. Coa Hills was recommended to us by Tyler Technologies as they have extensive experience working with Munis. This was one of the key competencies we were looking for in this role, to be able to work with our existing data and systems in the transition. In addition to leading this transition, given their Munis experience, they will also be able to support us with any current payroll issues and help us to continue to improve our processes during this transition period. They started last week and joined our weekly project management meetings with ADP. Lastly, in terms of payroll updates, I wanted to clarify the situation regarding the IRS penalty notices for the community. We want to make sure that everyone understands that we have not been required to pay any penalties to the IRS, nor do we expect to. We received penalty notices from the IRS in regards to our reporting on 3 different issues in 2019. This was the time period in which we experienced a reduction of staffing in finance and HR, as well as other central offices, due to budget cuts for the fiscal year 2019. This was also the time that we are transitioning to the new system, Munis. Due to these issues, and since we corrected all of the issues that were identified in the notices, the IRS has abated or forgiven the penalties for 2 of the 3 issues. Our IRS representative has also recommended that the final penalty, the $1 million penalty, should also be abated or forgiven. We anticipate an update on that any time now. So we do not anticipate paying any money in penalties to the IRS, and since that time, we have not received any further IRS penalty notices. In other topics, we wanted to share about the work that our high school co-curricular directors have been doing in regards to identifying opportunities for alignment across our athletic teams by establishing co-op teams. We seek to establish co-op teams when there is the potential to not have sufficient participation to be able to maintain a program at just one school. We currently have co-ops for hockey, field hockey, swimming, and Nordic skiing. This winter, our co-curricular directors have considered softball and boys lacrosse teams for possible co-ops, but it was determined that we had sufficient numbers at both schools to maintain teams for those sports at each school for this spring. We are also evaluating the need for a co-op football program across the 2 schools. There are 3 issues that have made us pause to consider potential changes to the football programs. The first issue is that due to changes by the Maine Principals Association, the organization that governs interscholastic athletics in the state, the 2 schools are currently scheduled to participate in different classes next fall. PHS is scheduled to participate in Class A, and Deering is scheduled to participate in Class B. This is the first time and only sport in which PHS and DHS would compete in different classes. Among other things, we are concerned about potential enrollment impacts from this distinction. The second issue is the current and potential future numbers of players. Both schools are only anticipating approximately 40 returning players next year, and the Portland Youth Football League has reported to us that there are very few participants in their tackle football program that will be coming to high school in the next few years. The last issue is that both schools currently have head coaching vacancies. Given the combination of these issues, we felt this was an appropriate time to take stock of our football program in the city. We sent a letter and survey to the current football players and families at both schools before vacation, and we have shared the same letter and survey with the Portland Youth Football League community. We are meeting with the leadership of Portland Youth Football later this week to discuss these issues further. We anticipate providing an update on the results of the survey in the next week, and if there is interest in potentially moving forward with these changes, we will convene community meetings to engage further before making a final decision and bring it forward to the board. Thank you. Malia?
Good evening, everyone. Speaking of sports, we wanted to take this opportunity to highlight some exciting accomplishments from our winter sports teams. The Portland High boys basketball team won the regional championship and will play for the state championship against South Portland this Saturday at the Cross Insurance Arena. We hope to see a lot of Portland fans show up. Go Bulldogs. In addition, we had many competitors in swimming, wrestling, and Nordic skiing competing in their respective championships. We're proud of the many strong athletic opportunities our students have in Portland. As you all know, we are preparing to present the superintendent's budget to the board on March 14th. As we've shared, the combined rollover cost of our budget and the loss of $2.5 million in state funding would result in about a 9% tax increase. The loss in state funding from the state is based on the EPS funding formula, which takes into account our city's property valuation. We'll share more about how this works at our upcoming budget forum on March 6th. In a nutshell, the state formula assumes that if our property valuation increases, our community will be able to contribute more taxes to the school budget. Since our primary funding source for the budget is local property tax, the reduction in state funding due to increased property valuation in Portland presents a real challenge for our community. In addition, we're experiencing a handful of budget pressures, such as the need to shore up our core operational foundations like payroll and HR, the need to respond to the continued influx of students newly arriving to Portland who are experiencing homelessness and who are new to learning English and therefore need a unique set of supports, the rising costs of the district, out-of-district placements in special education, and the transition away from grant funds that have supported some core programming in the district. As we navigate how to bring forward a proposed budget that is mindful of the tax burden, strives to maintain core programming, and continues to accelerate academic excellence for all of our students, we'll work to build as much transparency as we can and to approach the budget development process with our students and our staff at the heart of our decision-making process. This evening, we'll be doing a workshop on how we approach planning for staffing to give transparency into that process. We'll talk through classroom teachers, special education staffing, staffing for multilingual learners, and staffing for school-based mental health supports. We continue to meet with our city leadership to collaborate on the budget process, and we'll be sharing additional information in the upcoming board meetings and communications. As a reminder, in addition to the budget forum that I mentioned taking place next Monday, we'll do another budget-related workshop at our regular board meeting next Tuesday, March 7th, as well as hold a finance committee meeting on Monday, March 13th, before we present our recommended budget on Tuesday, March 14th. Finally, we want to close our remarks by honoring a longtime PAE educator, Arlene Saturdayborn. Arlene was known as a gifted mentor and extraordinary educator who taught passionately for more than 20 years. To honor her generous spirit, the PAE team created a special fund that will help even more students access learning at Portland Adult Ed. This fund is called the Student Bus Pass Fund, and we encourage you to consider donating by April. We'll share more information on our website for those who are interested in learning more about Arlene and or donating to this fund. Our hearts go out to Arlene's family and loved ones and to the educators and students who considered her a dear friend, colleague, and teacher. And that's all for tonight.
Thank you both for those updates. I don't see Representative Santiago, so I think we're going to go ahead and move on to the report of the secretary. So is there a motion to approve the minutes of February 7th, 2023? Can I get a motion? Board Member Russell Better, and a second. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Are there any questions on the motion? No. Okay, seeing none, I'll move to public comment. Is there any public comment on the meeting minutes from February 7th? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. Any board discussion? Right, seeing none, by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of approving the meeting minutes of February 7th, 2023. Superintendent, will you please call the roll?
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Member Bondo?
Abstain.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Russell Better?
Yes.
Member Youssef?
Yes.
Member Haymond?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz?
Yes. So the motion passes with the student representative voting with the majority. So we're going to move on to consent items. Superintendent, will you please speak to this item?
Yes, under Board Policy KCD, the school board accepts by unanimous consent contributions made to the school district of durable goods of significant value and of symbolic importance. As required by policy, all of the donations are listed in the board memo by name and donation accompanying this item. Our practice is that each donor receives a written contribution acknowledgement expressing our heartfelt gratitude for their tax purposes. So with that, I'd like to thank the many contributors to the Portland Public Schools that have made donations of durable goods, substantial value, and are historical or commemorative significance. We are very grateful for their support of their work. Tonight, we would like to thank the following individuals for their donations to Gerald E. Talbot Elementary School for jackets, ski pants, hats, and mittens for students from Bill Kowalczyk of Peaks Island, Maine. Books for students from Amy Erstellen of Westbrook, Maine, and meals for families at the Homework Diner program from Wayside Food Programs of Portland, Maine. Thank you all.
Thank you, Superintendent Townsend. And now we're going to move on to old business. So we have a couple of items up for old business tonight. The first is the consideration and action to transfer $100,000 from the remaining furniture, fixtures, and equipment budget to cover the cost of the estimated contingency need for Reiki. So is there a motion to transfer these funds? Thank you, Board Member Figdor. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Youssef. Are there any questions? Nope. So seeing none, I will move to public comment. Is there any public comment on transference of these funds? Right, seeing none, I'm going to close public comment. And is there any board discussion? Okay, seeing none. By roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of transferring $100,000 from the remaining furniture, fixtures, and equipment budget to cover the cost of the estimated contingency need for Reiki.
Member Bilyeu?
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo?
Yes.
Member Bryden?
Yes.
Member Figdor?
Yes.
Member Grant?
Yes.
Member Opperman?
Yes.
Member Russell Better?
Yes.
Member Youssef?
Yes.
Member Amond?
Yes.
And Chair Lentz?
Yes. So the motion passes unanimously with Representative Amond voting with the majority. Beautiful. So second, we have the consideration and action to ratify state revolving renovation fund applications for Americans with Disabilities projects at several schools. So is there a motion to ratify this? Board Member Opperman, thank you for the motion. May I have a second, please? Board Member Figdor, thank you. Are there any questions on the motion? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to move to public comment. Oh, I see a hand. Yes, Tamara.
Yes, I just wanted to speak to this real quick. It's actually a consideration and action to approve and accept the SRRF loan with the Maine Municipal Bank for the SRRF applications that we put in the fall. So the language isn't correct on the actual agenda, but in the actual executive summary that I gave is the actual approval that we're looking for.
Thank you.
If that makes sense.
Yes, that totally makes sense. And I apologize for having the wrong language there, but thank you for the correction. So any other public comment or any public comment on this? Okay, seeing none. Is there any board discussion? Okay, so by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of accepting I should have written down the language that you gave to me, Hold on one second. Let's see, to approve the funds.
I've updated the board docs language.
Okay, thank you. So to approve these funds for the state revolving renovation fund application. So can you please call the roll?
Member Bilyeu,
Yes.
Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Yes.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Russell Better,
Yes.
Member Youssef,
Yes.
Member Amond,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes. So the motion passes unanimously with Representative Amon voting with the majority. Beautiful. And now we're going to move on to new business. So tonight we're going to have a first read of the school year 2023-2024 calendar. Superintendents, would you like to speak to this?
Yes, thank you. So tonight is just a first read for our proposed school calendar for the school year 2023-24. Our calendar planning, for those who aren't familiar, is bound by state policy through the Career and Technical Education Center that we host, PATHS, and collaboration among the 7 different primary sending districts. So according to state policy, we can only have 5 dissimilar days across our calendars. So that limits our autonomy to set our own, independently set our own academic calendar. The calendar in front of you this evening is essentially similar to the current year, with school starting the Tuesday after Labor Day and running through the second week of June before any snow days, with similar dates for school vacations and other non-instructional days. We've also included for reference the draft adult ed calendar, as well as the religious holidays calendar for reference. Thank you.
Thank you. Let me take questions on a first read, right? Yes, we just don't vote. Does anyone have any questions on this calendar? Yes, Board Member Opperman?
Yes, one thing I learned from the listening session at PATHS that the misalignment of the school's courses with kids who are going to PATHS, if they're going to Deering or the other one, they sometimes will be late because I don't know if it's the bus situation or what, but also the midday time, whether they have to leave a class early from the sending high school, Deering or Portland, or do they come in late to PATHS. So it's just something that to think about and to maybe work with the individual schools' academic course scheduling for those, particularly for those students.
Thank you, Member Opperman.
Any other questions on the school calendar? All right, seeing none, I'm going to move us to our next item, which is our personnel. So we have a couple of different items that are on the agenda for tonight. So first is the consideration and action to renew the contracts of principals for the 2023-2024 school year. And these are for people that have been employed for 2 years or less, pursuant to MRSA Title 20A, Chapter 504, Section 13301, Employment of Principals. Superintendent Townsend, would you like to speak to this item?
Yes, we're excited to present this group of new leaders in our system, those who have been in our system 2 years or less as principals or assistant principals. We're excited about what they offer our school communities and our district as a whole, and so excited to present their contracts for renewal for next year.
Thank you. So is there a motion to renew these contracts? Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Thank you, Board Member Opperman. We do not have public comment on personnel items. So are there any questions from the board? Board Member Grant.
Hi, folks. I thought I would just chime in here just to let you know I will abstain from these votes pursuant to my role and the just the broad category of personnel votes. So just letting you know in advance.
Thank you, Board Member Grant. Any other questions from the board? Is there any general discussion, not about an individual from the board? Okay, seeing none, then by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of renewing these personnel items. So will you please call the roll?
Yep. Member Bilyeu,
Yes.
Member Vice Chair Bondo,
Yes.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
record abstention for Member Grant, Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Russell Better,
Yes.
Member Youssef,
Yes.
Member Amond,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes. So the motion passes with Board Member Grant abstaining and Representative Heyman voting with the majority. So the second item is the consideration and action to renew the contracts of principals for the 2023-2024 school year, and for those principals that have been employed for more than 2 years pursuant to MRSA Title 20A, Chapter 504, Section 13301, Employment of Principals. So could I get a motion for this? Thank you. Board Member Bryden, is there a second? Youssef, Board Member Youssef, thank you very much. We do not have public comment on personnel items. Are there any questions from the board? Well, let me just click. Yeah, Board Member Bilyeu.
This is not a question, but it's more just to I guess my own thoughts on this process. It's really hard for me to just kind of blindly, I guess, approve contracts. I just have a really hard time doing that. And I don't know, I've been honestly vocalizing this for a year. I just don't feel good in my position, renewing contracts that I just don't really know what the implications are, I guess. So I just want to emphasize that I don't feel good about that. And I don't feel good being in that position. Yeah, I just feel like that needs to be said and heard.
Thank you, Board Member Bilyeu. Are there any other questions from the board? Okay. Seeing none, and by roll call vote, please indicate whether you are in favor of these personnel items. So Superintendent Townsend, will you please call the roll?
Member Bilyeu,
No.
Member Bondo,
No.
Member Bryden,
Yes.
Member Figdor,
Yes.
Member Grant,
Abstain.
Member Opperman,
Yes.
Member Russell Better,
Yes.
Member Youssef,
Yes.
Member Amond,
Yes.
and Chair Lentz.
Yes. So the motion does pass with board members. I'm going to see if I can remember this correctly, but Superintendent Townsend, please help me out if I don't. With Board Member Bryden, Figdor, Opperman, and Russell Better voting in favor, and board members Bilyeu and Bondo opposed. with Representative Haymond voting with the majority and Board Member Grant abstaining.
And I believe Member Youssef voting in favor.
Yes, thank you. So apologies, Board Member Youssef. Okay, thank you all for your participation in that. And so now I'm going to move or ask for a motion to adjourn this business meeting, but will be followed by 2 workshops. So is there a motion to adjourn the business meeting? Beautiful. Thank you, Board Member Bryden. Is there a second? Was that Russell Better? Board Member Russell Better. Beautiful. All those in favor, you can raise your hand. Okay, we have consensus. Great.